Hello and welcome to another episode of Battle Ready. And today, we're going to talk about things that have been pointed out to us in videos before, and something that I, in particular, struggle with, and that is remembering the abilities. Oh my gosh, there are so many abilities.
In one battletome, there's probably hundreds.
Well, yeah, so you got your battletome. So first of all, you need all the rules from the core rules.
Yes.
Then on top of that, you have your battletome, which layers on your battle traits. You got to remember all those.
Except for Gloomspite.
Then, well, you still have to remember the one.
One.
Then you've got maybe a terrain piece. Then you've got all the different war scrolls. Each of those has different abilities, some of which cost command points, some of which don't. And so you get into a situation where you just don't, or at least I just don't remember.
And now we finally know why someone sticks to a singular army.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing, is if you stick to a single army, it's not too hard to learn things over time. Like, you've played Night Hunt a lot, even under the new rules, and you often remember the vast majority of your abilities, right? Mm-hmm. So when you start playing the same army or two over and over and over, it's not so bad. You make a few mistakes along the way, and then you do it. I, though, I really like the variety, and so I'll play Daughters of Cain, and then Stormcast, and then Soulblight, and then Seraphon, and then I just really like to mix it up.
I do
and
too.
It's fun to do that, right?
Yeah.
But the downside is I don't get enough experience with any one army to really get all the rules down, because by the time I play them again, I'm gonna make some of those same mistakes probably. So we wanted to talk about, what are the easiest to forget rules? What do we mess up on the most? And also, how do you fix that? How do you make it so that you don't forget all the little rules? Drake, what do you think is the easiest? What rule do you forget the most, do you think?
Probably battle traits. I forget my battle traits a lot.
I don't know if you do forget battle traits. You always remember shrieks and things like that.
Well, that's because I've played Night Hunt.
Well, yeah, but I think, what's an example of a battle trait you think you've forgotten?
I've definitely forgotten my Barknor abilities. I never remember my boat abilities.
So not battle traits, unique enhancements.
Yes.
Yeah, when you give new stuff to... So that is something that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
We forget, it's like, oh, that's right, I gave so-and-so this spell, or oh, that's right, they have a great Indran work, or whatever it is.
I always forget those.
Those are very forgettable because they can change from battle to battle, and they're not often the core of your army, right? Your whole army isn't built around this one command trait, usually. So it's easy to forget. What we've started doing is on the back of our score sheet, we'll write down every person who has a thing and what it does. And that way, not only does it help in writing it, but it helps because when we say, oh yeah, what spell? I gave this guy a spell, what was it again? We can flip that sheet over and we know right away. We don't have to look it up in the books. So that is helpful. Mm-hmm. I think for me, one of the things that I forget a lot is monstrous rampages. Oh my God, it's a 3.0 thing. We've played a gazillion games of 3.0 at this point. Well, not of 3.0.
But of Warhammer.
Of Warhammer, for sure. Yeah. But we've played a million games of 3.0, and I have a trouble remembering monstrous rampages. Some of that is because a couple of the armies that I like don't have monsters. So Daughters of Cain, only Morathi. Yeah. Stormcast, we don't have any monsters. Stormcast. Caradron don't really have monsters.
No,
Night Hunt don't really have monsters.
No.
So...
And there's not the spell that makes them a monster anymore.
Yeah, that spell's gone, so you don't have to worry about that. So lots of times I just forget that there's monstrous actions. Drake remembers pretty good.
Because
when
I play a lot.
When it's his monsters. When it's my monsters,
I forget
he doesn't
when it's
remember.
your monsters.
Yeah, he doesn't remember so much, but when it's his monsters, he remembers. So that is one thing that we forget a lot. Another thing, to sort of piggyback on what Drake said, is when there are abilities that are cool little add-ons, but they're not the core of my list. Yeah. So a great example is in Nurgle, I'm doing all kinds of things because I want to spread disease. Usually that's like the strategy. I like spreading disease, so I get the Mutter Grub, I get Gift of Disease, I get all these different things. And then because we have a mortal list, and we have a demon list too.
Don't use it.
I like the mortals. We could use it if you wanted. Yeah. I just like the mortals a lot. And we probably will do that demon list at some point. We've just done a lot of Nurgle recently, so
we're gonna slow it down.
We probably want to see some other armies before we Nurgle it up.
Before I want to do.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
I want to do Zinch as one of the armies.
They're getting a new tome soon.
I know, but I want to do a last hurrah.
We will. That one probably be coming up. But what I was gonna say is, so I have all these strategies, and then since they're mortals, I'll pick Blessed Sons, which gives them the 6-ups. They explode, and on 6-ups you get disease.
Yeah.
But I forget all the time because that's not important to my strategy.
And even when you do it, it's useless.
It is it's not a very good ability, but at least it's there, right? Another great example is sometimes units will have an ability that it's not why I took them. Like Gut Rippers have the scare tactics,
That's not what you took.
and you have to roll it in the charge phase and roll over their bravery, and it's not why I took the Gut Rippers. That ability is
Not good.
pretty weak anyway, and so I forget to use it. Bastion Carthalos, he's got this ability where he zaps people once per round, and that's awesome. But the reason I'm taking him is because he's pretty good in a fight. He's got that 4-up ward. His command ability anywhere on the battlefield is great. His pre-turn movement, if you go that route, is great. So he's got all these other abilities that I'm taking him for. And then he's got the Lightning Strike, which is cool, but not why I took him. And then I think the third category, and this is the one that gets me the most, I think, because those other ones, you play them a little bit.
You finally figure them out.
Usually you figure them out not too long. And honestly, because they're sort of ancillary abilities,
Ancillary?
that means not main.
Okay.
Because of that, if you forget them, it's usually not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, well. But the one that gets me is anything you have to do in the hero phase
And then
that doesn't matter
until the
combat phase.
Like
do a
grease
prayer, do a spell, command ability, any of those things. Like if you do a command ability and that somebody fights right away, then you do it, right? But when you do a thing and you're like, okay, now 3 phases from now, you all get extra attacks or all rend or whatever, it gets a little trickier. And that's especially tricky if you've got a very long hero phase because you have a lot of spells or abilities. Because by the time you get to that 5th spell, you forgot what happened with the first 2.
Yep.
Or if you've got a lot of movement and a lot of shooting, so the time between when you cast the spell and the time when it matters in combat is in real world minutes, quite a few minutes.
Very.
And it's I can't tell you how many times we've said, oh shoot, it was supposed to be that guy's best day ever. Or, oh shoot, those guys should have had plus to wound because of this command ability or whatever. All the time.
Maybe one day I'll do a video where I just find every video we've done. I will take a clip from every video we've ever done. We're like, oh shoot, wait, I need to do this.
Oh,
I just make
gosh,
one big contemplation.
Yeah, there will be one in every video for sure.
I will do it someday.
But-
you will see it.
But, so how do we fix that one? What do you think the best way to do that is?
Write it down.
Write it down?
Use tokens.
Tokens. That's my preferred method. I think the token is good because at least then if we're gonna roll and I look over at the unit and I see a little token there, it reminds me, it's like, oh yeah, they got some buff. Or, oh yeah, they got some debuff.
Yeah, and
Right?
I got a buff.
So that is super helpful. Now sometimes we're just going too fast and we don't look at the tokens and we forget anyway. But we remember more with the tokens than without them.
Yeah.
What about you? Anything else that you find difficult to remember?
What my spells do.
Yeah, that's why we write those down at the beginning of the round, right? It's like, oh yeah. And there's plenty of times Drake will say, what spell did I give Olinder? What spell did I give this guy? What spell? And I do the same thing. What prayer did I give this guy? And we have to write those down because otherwise we just forget. We forget. And it's important to remember that. Now, because you want to know, you don't want to forget, cast some other stupid spell and then think back, oh shoot, he was supposed to cast this. That was my plan.
We've done that a lot.
We've done that several times.
I need to go find all the videos that did it.
So there are things out there like AOS reminders and other things that give you checklists of all the things you need to do so that in each phase you say, all right, I need to cast this spell, I need to do this command ability, I need to do this thing and this thing and this thing. And that can be helpful.
We should get that.
We haven't used that as much. We mostly just write stuff down ourselves.
Have we ever used that?
I have used it once, but I didn't. Yeah, it was a long time ago. but I didn't really like it because there was too much. The AOS reminders just had too much in there. And then once I pared it down to something that was like 1 page and manageable, then it didn't always have everything on there that I wanted. So it was one or the other. It was like, well, I don't want multiple pages of checklists, but I also want everything on there that I need. At this point, I could probably get away with it because I remember enough that the 1 page is probably okay. But at the time, it was too much. It's too much.
You also never told me you did that.
Yeah, we played. You just don't remember. It was in 2.0. It was a long time ago.
Oh. What's 2.0?
Yeah.
That's everyone right now. What's 2.0?
So anyway, I think the single best way to do all the rules is play the same army over and over.
Yes.
Right? Because the first 3, 4, 5, 10 times you play it, you'll probably forget something. But every time you forget, the next time you play, you'll think, oh yeah, I can't forget that. And eventually, you have it all together, right? And then the next best thing is writing stuff down. Just like that. That's a good writing example.
Another thing you can do is just study the book for like 5 hours before bed.
Yeah, I mean, I think rereading the book and thinking about things, especially like we talked about before, those abilities that don't really matter. The reason the abilities that matter, it's harder to forget them, is because you built your strategy. You're like, my strategy is I'm going to build this thing and then we're going to teleport, so I know about this teleport ability. That's the whole linchpin of my strategy. And then that means you remember it. Well, if you read the book and think about other things, you're like, all right, I have my list, I have my main strategy. Now, what are the other little ancillary abilities that might help? And so you think about those a little bit more. So yeah, reading the book, reviewing the war scrolls, that could also be pretty helpful too. Mm-hmm. And then I think tokens.
Yep, tokens is...
And because it's so important, we'll say it again, practice. Just keep playing. Keep playing it over and over and over.
Just keep playing.
Exactly. Any final thoughts?
Work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, not harder. All right, well, this has been another episode of Battle Ready, and thanks so much for watching.